Hello and welcome back to Soothe Sisters. I am Nanki
And I'm Nehmat.
and together we are the Soothe Sisters. In the last episode, we spoke about what this podcast means to us. And in this episode, we are going to dive deep into Nehmat's personal story about how she discovered this path of spirituality and the world unseen. So let's dive deep in. So Nehmat, can you take us back to the start of the journey? Like, what sparked your curiosity in the world of unseen and what sparked your curiosity in spirituality and such? Can you just take us back to the start of the story?
Yeah, sure. So this started, I'd say, back in my early teenage years. This was me and my friends. We were on our exploratory journey. You know how teenagers are. We love to explore topics and everything under the sky. So me and my friends, we used to talk about so many of our teenage troubles. It could be family related, friendship related, anything under the sky, right? So one of my best friends, she came across a few books and we'd always, exchange books. We were avid readers back then, apart from Harry Potter, of course. There was so much we were interested in. So she came across some really interesting books that we'd never heard about. So to list a few, there was Conversations with the Spirit by Dolores Cannon. Back then, I think this was the name and it got republished to some other name now.
Yeah.
And then there was The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. And then there was The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. So these books, when we started reading, she finished her copy, then she passed it on to me. Once we started reading those, it had so many interesting, intriguing topics, which we'd not heard of. It was not textbook version of your books, the ordinary things that you'd read as a teenager. So there was so much in there. And from those books, topics like life after death, law of attraction. By the way, back then manifestation was law of attraction. All these concepts, they started coming to life and it was so exciting and so intriguing at the same time. So I got to research about these things on my dial-up connection.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We had dial-up connections back then.
And only the 90s kids can relate what the dial-up connection is.
Yeah, you're right. And then Google and MSN and all the limited resources that you could tap into at that time. So we got researching on these topics. And, I'd say that's how I kind of got initiated or introduced to the topic of spirituality, wellness, and life after that. And life is not as we know of.
Yeah. I remember you told me to read this book, The Alchemist. It was such a heavy book. I honestly, if I look back, it was 20 years ago I read that book.
Okay.
And honestly, I did not understand that book. It was really heavy. And also I remember that quite later you introduced me to the book, The Secret. I still couldn't wrap my head around it, like law of manifestation, law of attraction actually. I really couldn't understand those concepts back then. But things are different now, right?
Yeah.
Also, I remember, growing up, you used to mention about a dream of your flying dream. So does all your reading connect you to that flying dream somehow?
Yeah, I would say it was not just a dream, it was dreams actually. I don't know how many of us get the same dreams, but as a child, from my early childhood to my teenage to since a very long time, I always used to get dreams where I would be flying. It was very natural for me. Whenever I'd wake up, I'll always tell my mom, I think I was a bird in my previous life because I was always flying in my dreams. And flying in human form, not even as an animal or anything, full of color, full of activity and everything. Whatever I am right now, I would always see myself flying and those were very vivid dreams. So once I started reading all the books, those came to me, I sort of started connecting the dots. Because I heard about the concept of astral travel. Now, this is one topic that we would be really interested in diving deep into with our upcoming episodes. But for now, I'll just say, astral travel intrigued me so much. That was something I had never heard of. But whatever the book told me about it, I was like, hey, wait a minute. That is something that has been happening to me. In a way, right? So again, coming back to my limited resources or whatever MSN, Google search engine we had, I'd go up there and try and search. And back then we had chat groups, like there were Yahoo chat groups, MSN chat groups. People again from the 90s would connect. So a lot of people were talking about astral travel. And so I kept on experimenting and reading and eventually I did come to a point because I was so excited about it. This is I think I'd be probably in my 10th grade or something at that time. So I did reach a point where I was able to get that astral travel experience while I was conscious.
Yeah.
But that lasted, it was a very fleeting experience because obviously it was something new. I had no one to guide me and I kind of chickened out of it pretty soon.
Yeah.
So that was my experience with astral travel and how I connected my flying dreams to the books.
So you mentioned that you were going into these chat rooms, these Yahoo chat rooms and MSN chat rooms. What was happening in those chat rooms? Like, what was the point of discussion about astral travel? And you mentioned astral travel quite many times in the conversation. What exactly is astral travel? I mean, I have a fair idea about what astral travel is, but would you like to shed some light to our audience that from your experience or your perspective, what is astral travel?
Yeah, so astral travel, the word does sound very fancy. It did seem extremely exciting when I read it back then.
Yeah.
Again, I'm no expert to answer on what exactly is it, what is the science behind it, or everything. I can only tell you what I read, right? Astral travel, as I read it in Dolores's book, was having an out-of-body experience where you're projecting your consciousness or your soul, as we say it, out of your physical body, but you're still connected to your body with like a silver cord through you.
Wow.
So you're technically, in a way, your soul is leaving your body to explore.
Yeah.
That's what the book said back then.
Wow.
That's as far as I can talk about it because, as I said, no expert here.
Yeah.
Definitely, as I mentioned before, we look forward to getting on experts and researchers who have more in-depth knowledge about this topic.
Yeah.
And they can guide us more through this.
Yeah.
And your next question about chat groups. So there was so many people talking about their experiences of astral travel.
Yeah.
But you know, how you cannot just trust anyone on the internet, especially back then.
Back in the 90s, right?
Yeah, even today you can't trust anyone on the internet.
Back in the 90s, very limited resources, only handful of people coming online and, you know, sharing their experiences.
Yes. So I wouldn't go around trusting people on the internet, but it was exciting to see what I was going through. A lot of other people were going through. So yeah, there were people talking about it. Who were they and what kind of people were they? I can't say, right? Because that's how chat groups work.
Yeah.
But there was definitely talks and I could Google research even back then.
Yeah.
When I searched this topic, it did come up pretty easily. But then again, the sources were not credible. So I wouldn't really fall back on them as my safe option. Right?
So you mentioned that you stopped doing all these practices back then. What made you stop and what would have happened if you would have continued?
Yeah, I wish I would have just, continued my exploration journey. But then, you know how life happens. I was probably in my late teenage.
Yeah.
And then post that, there's college, there's dating, there's getting married, there's career, motherhood. All of this, took over my mind. And the spiritual exploration part took a back seat. So that how it has been. But I wish I would have continued. I don't know where we would have been today had I not stopped that. But yeah, that's how it goes, right? Life goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what made you circle back to this path again? Like, how did this journey start again? Like, it's safe to say that you took a pause and then something made this journey start back again. So what was that?
Yeah, so unfortunately, or I don't know, honestly, I got rekindled with my spiritual side with our shared experience of grief. When your husband passed away last year.
Yeah.
That is when I sort of connected back to my old self of being a spiritual explorer to help you out with your grief.
Yeah.
You and me were ending up, we researched so many resources of how to make sense of what had happened to you. And that was pretty sudden. Nobody really foresees death, right?
Yeah.
And to help you recover from your grief, or not really recover, help you navigate that time.
Yeah.
I remembered quoting Dolores Cannon to you then.
Yes.
And somehow you had already been following her on Instagram. And you came up with those quotes. You're like, hey, this is the lady that I've been following.
Yeah.
So that coincided. And, whatever you were talking, whatever experiences you were going through that time of Cover's passing and the things that you felt. So whatever experiences you were sharing, what feelings you had, or you were sort of feeling his presence.
So how does your spiritual journey look today?
Okay, so for today I'd say I am back to connecting with myself, I have been listening to so many podcasts.
Yeah.
I've been listening to a lot of resource material like psychics, mediums, and Akashic records. And I'm back to discovering myself. At least I am on this journey of self-discovery.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we are here on Soothe Sisters, to become explorers. But we are not, of course, preachers and experts, like we've said. We are back to exploring ourselves. And I am so excited to have this journey with you and, of course, our listeners.
So what do you think that people who are tuning in today and listening to your story, they will feel after, or they will hope after listening to your story today?
So for anyone who's listening today, I'd say it is okay to be curious. And it is okay if you had a pause in discovering yourself in life. You can always rekindle it, or you can always come back to it. If life has led you to reroute your beliefs, that is also okay. You'll always end up finding yourself if you really want to. So that, and obviously this is why we are here. We want to build a community for like-minded people, of people who would like to be on the same journey as us. And we'd love to learn from your experiences. And of course, like we said, we are so excited to share our own experiences with you.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing your story with us today, Nehmat. It is so amazing to see how your childhood curiosity and your childhood dreams of flying and astral travel and our shared grief led us to create this space called the Soothe Sisters. In the next episode, I will be sharing my personal journey around grief and how a life-altering event led us to create this space called the Soothe Sisters. Till then, keep exploring and stay soothed.
And thank you for holding this space for me to share my story with all of you. And if this video resonated with you, we'd love for you to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until then, it's Soothe Sisters signing off.